What is up, guys? How's it going? Bringing you guys a game of Conquest on the new map Epicenter using the MP7 with the Russian 3.4 scope, laser, and extended mags. Pretty fun setup that I like to mess around with quite a bit, but I don't think I've brought you guys a gameplay with it yet, or if I have, it's been a long time. So, anyways, this game's pretty good. Start off really strong, and then I don't know, the enemy team ends up making a pretty good comeback, and this game gets pretty close towards the end, like right at the end. It was weird. They all like ran medics and did like a whole medic train and kept on running into a whole bunch of them at once, and they were really trying to come back for the win. And for the most part, I've had some pretty good games on this new DLC. The map seemed to play pretty good. One of them, though, that one where you could go into the giant mansion, that one seems to be a little one-sided. I forget which side whatever side spawns closest to the mansion, it seems like the worst side, because it's very easily be able to get trapped there, and it seems like teammates like to like dick around in there and shit and defend it. But you need more than 2 flags to win the game, because it's like a 5-flag map on the console. But other than that, this setup's pretty good. As you can see, you just hip fire it from like pretty ridiculous range. Just do like short 10-round bursts with it, and the scope actually is pretty good for long range, except for when you get noob tubed in the face. But it is what it is, and some of you guys wanted me to do like a 2012 commentary, because I mentioned it yesterday, and I figured I might as well, since it's tomorrow, in a few hours actually. But good old winter solstice, the end of the Mayan calendar, is tomorrow, December 21st, 2012. Everybody's been talking about it. People have been making fun of it. It's pretty funny. I joke around about it, you know, end of the world. Like, someone will say, like, oh, I can't wait for the new Grand Theft Auto, and I'll say, like, oh, what does it matter, because the world's gonna end. And it's just fun to joke around about and everything. And for those of you unaware, like, what the whole 2012 thing comes from, it's like the Mayan calendar, and that's when their calendar ends, and it marks like the I believe it's the long count. Keep in mind, anything I'm going to say might not be 100% accurate, because I don't really research this stuff anymore. I used to be into it like back in the day, and like the whole Illuminati and all that, and I heard crazy shit from people in like real life and all this, so I still kind of like look into it, but not as much as I did in the past. So a lot of this information that I'll be like pretty much regurgitating is like stuff that I heard like years and years ago, so I might not be 100% accurate in how I remember it. But anyways, what it is like it ends the the long count for the Mayans, and that's like a 27,000 year cycle, and it's like the Earth's on a wobble, and it like finishes like this cycle, and it takes 27,000 years, and like at the end of it, the Earth will or the Sun, I mean, will align like in the center of the galaxy, and it's like super rare. Again, once every 27,000 years, and you know, this comes from the whole Mayans, and it's like it's mentioned in like other societies, like I think even older than them, like the Sumerians and shit like that, talk about stuff like that. Same around the same time period, the same date. They keep bringing it up, and it also coincides with like the last ice age, where they think that might have occurred and shit like that. But you know, this whole like apocalypse deal, like end of the world scenario shit, that comes from like more recent times. I think it comes from this guy. Comes from like 2 people like in the not in the 20s, in like the 50s, 60s. Terrence McKenna, he's like a big guy in psychedelic research and shit, but he came up with this from translating shit, and it was like translated in a whole bunch of like ancient tablets, and it talks about it. But apocalypse doesn't mean end of the world, like I said in my last video. It's like, you know, something hidden to be unveiled, you know, something's gonna happen, I guess. I don't know what that is. I don't know if anything's gonna happen, but one thing for sure that happens is like the sun does align with the center of the galaxy, and that is a very rare thing. And what's the trip about all of it is like the Mayans and shit knew about this from like the first day of their civilization, which is like researchers and shit can't figure out where they got the information from, because in order for them to like have it, they would have to continuously observe like the skies for like 27,000 years to be able to know like the Earth's on a wobble and everything like that, and all the alignments that happen. They would have to be around for a really long time, and for some reason they've had the information, you know, from the get-go, from the beginning, and you know, people don't know where the fuck they got it from. And you know, there's a whole bunch of theories like aliens and shit like that, which is completely possible. I think I believe in aliens and stuff like that. It's pretty silly if you don't. There's so much out there, and I don't know, there's shit that I trip off, like just the whole constellation deal, like how they even like figured half this shit out, cause like I live in the city, so I don't see that many stars, and you know, the ones I do, you could kind of make out like little constellations. Like I could make out like the Little Dipper and shit like that. But when I go camping and shit out into the woods, and it's like no cities for miles and miles away, and you could see like hella stars, I can't even see how they picked out like constellations, because there's so many stars in the sky when you get way out in the middle of nowhere. It's pretty ridiculous. It's a pretty cool sight, and that's one of the reasons why I like to go camping, especially places like out in the middle of fucking nowhere, because you get to like trip out on all the stars and shit. And it's like there's so many stars in the sky that it almost looks like there's clouds really high up, and I don't know, it's a trip. And you know, the Mayans and shit, they had all this information from the beginning, and it's like how did they know about all this? And you know, the whole aliens thing comes into play, which is again completely possible. I don't really know what to believe. There's like a whole bunch of theories on like what's gonna happen tomorrow, and most likely nothing will happen. And if anything, it might be the start to something that will happen, because I don't know, shit's crazy, and it may affect the magnetics of the planet or some crazy shit, which seems to be what's going on now. Like if you look at, there's like grids and shit you could look at of the magnetics of the planet, and that like dictates a whole bunch of shit of like how the planet acts, like the tides and everything. And it also dictates like the migration routes of like animals, like whales and birds and shit like that. And that's like one of the theories to why like birds like just die out of nowhere, and like whales, like hella whales will just beach themselves and like go to shore, is because they follow the magnetics of the planet. And like because the magnetics of the planet are getting all screwed up because of like this alignment, that shit's gonna go down. And they also say like this whole cycle coincides with consciousness shifts. Can be hard for me to say that word for some reason, but they say it coincides with that. And what that is like great, that's like when great change happens. That's like when crazy shit gets discovered, like whole societies change, like monumental type shit happens, like discovering fire and like the wheel or something, I don't know. But that's when, you know, supposedly shit happens. And they say like there's also people who believe that we're gonna transcend into a different dimension, because right now we're in the what is it, fourth dimension, third density. And you might say, well, I thought we're in the third dimension. And it's like I think we're really in the fourth dimension, because it's 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension at a time. So that means we're in the fourth dimension, and that's third density. So they say that we may move up to you know, the 5th dimension, and you know, our whole reality is gonna change, and like all this crazy shit, like we're gonna completely just shift frequencies. And there's like this shit's in like ancient like Sumerian text, Egyptian shit that they found. And like we go through, like when it happens, like we go through this process that's called like the Great Void or something like that, or it's the Great Darkness, something like that, I forget. But it's like everything turns black for like a 3-day period, and like everybody like forgets everything, and it's like a giant reset button for everything. And there's like it's written in like some ancient tablets that's why the pyramids are built, is to like put some protective grid around us or some crazy shit like that to make it so we don't get like this whole reset and we actually transcend into the next reality and don't stay stuck where we're at. And that's just like some crazy shit that I heard. I don't know if it's real. That's like thousands of years old information there, and who knows where they got it. Ancient civilizations are definitely a trip when you actually go and look at them and actually like, like read a book or something on it. Like I'll listen to like hella lectures about shit like this, and like audio books are pretty cool. And just for when I'm like playing single player games and stuff like that, I like to like zone out and trip out on crazy shit like that. So I don't know, it's all very trippy and it's very interesting, but I don't really, like I said, to pay attention to it anymore. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. Probably nothing, but you never know. Maybe this whole great change will happen, and we'll go into a different dimension, and if so, I'll see you there. But or maybe not. I don't know. They say that's like where the whole rapture idea comes from as well. And I believe in the whole different dimensions and shit like that, and like extra dimensional beings, and I kind of believe that's kind of where like ghosts come from in a way, because like think of it as like a radio. We're in like this frequency right now. I'll turn the dial and you go to a completely different frequency, and you have no idea what's happening and going on in the previous one anymore, because you're completely out of that frequency. So maybe that happens in like the whole reality sense. Who fucking knows? Shit is crazy. They prove shit goes faster than the speed of light, so like that makes like Einstein's whole theory of relativity wrong, and makes all of our physics wrong. So in reality, we don't know shit, and that's the pretty much end of that. We don't know shit, and people need to stop acting like we know everything and just be more curious about it all, I guess. I don't fucking know. Anyways, that's a pretty good game there, and I hope you enjoyed this commentary about crazy nonsense. And yeah, peace. Have a good one. Bye bye.